Hi, this is Dr. Mark Sehl for the YouTube channel Therapy for the Heart. It's nice to be here. And I'm trying to beat the sun here. It's closing in on me, so it becomes very bright here. So, good morning. Um, Talking about denial of death. Actually, it's fear, anxiety, and death. And I was motivated to do this because of Stephanie Schroeder's article I was reading about her um, thoughts about death. Actually, she talked about death cafes, and they're set up in Europe. I don't remember if here or not, but it's certainly, I think, a great idea because people don't want to address a death. You know, we say, I don't say, but it annoys me when somebody say that somebody passed. What does that mean? They passed a test, or they passed away? Well, away? It's not. Somebody died. Give them credit for being able to. If they died, they'd want people to be sad. I would hope, and it's a sense of attachment when you when you die, and somebody mourns you or cries. Give that a chance. So what I was going to say, give death a chance, but yeah. So Stephanie is a freelance writer, and she wrote a book called Beautiful Wreck, Lies and Suicide. Beautiful Wreck, Lies and Suicide. And she also is co-authoring a book, Head Case, LGBTQ Writers and Artists on Mental Health and Wellness, that's to be published soon. Last but not least, she did give me a very favorable review and a very thoughtful one on the podcast that came out recently. But she lists several things about death and anxiety, and what caught my eye is separation anxiety disorders related to death fears, and compulsive checkers, hand washers, fear of heart attacks, frequent visits to doctors and hospitals, and all these are at a cost of someone's health, because they're trying to be healthy, but also their anxieties about death create these symptoms, and it costs the society a lot of angst and worrying with these other people, and also a financial cost too, frequent hospital visits and doctor visits. So it takes its toll. Death cafes, I think that's a great idea. Let's talk about it. Let's not avoid it. So there's those death cafes where people meet in a cafe in Europe, and that's the idea. Let's talk about death. So separation anxiety caught my eye because I just started to work with somebody who was extremely anxious, and he, young man in his middle 20s, and what his angst was that the minute that he's going to have success, it's going to be ripped away from him by death. That's quite a fear. And I think about it. I think of some disturbance in early feeding, breastfeeding, for instance. That's what comes to my mind. It might be not just coming to my mind because of the literal being ripped away, although mothers and infants have difficulty in attaching to each other sometimes. So that is often the case, that the infant can't feed and the mother is too painful. But it doesn't have to be that locus in terms of the origin. It's just that people have an anxiety about being detached from the loved ones in their life, and death does that. So why be anxious about that? I mean, if we're all going to die, which we are all going to do. See, I say if, and that's my denial. That's my denial. We are all going to die. And that be the case, we can't control it, so why worry about it? I mean, that's a very intellectualized approach, but that's how I got to accept it, because of feeling that I can't control it. There's no control over that happening. And the attempt to control it, like this young man, he dies 1,000 deaths in worry. you know, maybe in 1 week, constant worry about success being ripped away from him. Um, that's a big cost, anxiety. Might as well just die. I mean, you know what I mean. It's just a death. The actual death is never going to be equal to the 1,000 deaths that this person uh, suffers with during his daily routine in life. So I think I can help him, but that's a very long-standing response to life and living, and I know it can help him if he stays in treatment. And we talked a lot about the reasons why people don't stay in treatment or don't come to treatment because of fear of being judged and belittled and for who they are. So I don't do that. I'm not a judge. I didn't apply to work at 100 Center Street. So, but so many of us, including yours truly, have been judged and criticized. So that's a big one. Tremendous anxiety about that, and also his way of coping with it is to not try hard. And that's a weak and a strong defense. And by weak, I mean, well, it doesn't really help you in life, only temporarily, to avoid the real conflict. The defense is if I won't try too hard now, because if I try hard and fail, then I'll feel really shitty. So I won't try too hard. But it works, but it doesn't work because it keeps people from trying. And you always have to fail. I mean, you always fail in trying, and that's the fun of it. I don't mean the fun of it. It's not fun, but it's a learning thing that you need to do in order to say, well, in anything that's going to be gained by me, that's going to make me feel more happier in terms of what I'm going to achieve. I don't mean external things like a car or a big house. I just mean achieve, because we all want to achieve something. I think that's innate in us. The little child, the toddler, he's straining like mad to get up and walk. Pulls himself up on the couch, and what exuberation when he when he stands up, and he's so happy. And I visited my friend's child. He's under 1, and he was so happy to reach out to me. And I reached my hand out, I gave him a high five. He knew how to do that very slowly. I did it, and then he had a phone that he was holding, playing with the phone. Play phone. It wasn't a real phone. It was a piece of plastic, I guess. So he reached out and he asked if I wanted it. He's like 6, 8 months old or something like that. What a charming little boy. So trying always to learn. We're always trying to learn. So, and failing is always part of that. So I hope I can help this young man to become more comfortable and relax with his achievements rather than worrying about them. Yeah, so. Another thing I think about how people Ernest Becker, he wrote a book, Denial of Death. And that was a wonderful book. I read that I wish I wrote it. I read that I like my slips. I do wish I wrote it. Write your own book, Mark. Well, I'm working on it. So many years ago, and that book struck me. And I think it struck me because I identify with my own denial of death at that time. But he was saying that civilization is a major defense against death, and all the groups and structures that it creates. Religion, for instance, to belong to is all a denial of that inevitable fact of life, of death, and also denial of one's own bodily functions too, as a part of that. So that's a beautiful book. He's a Pulitzer Prize winner, and he won the Pulitzer Prize, two months after his death. Yeah, Ernest Becker. So there's other ways of people deny death, institutions or philosophies, Buddhism, karma, religion. You will go to heaven and be reunited. That's a nice thought. And I don't, it's not my idea in therapy to believe or disbelieve in it, but I think if people are using it to avoid living, that's not a good idea, because they may put off living until, well, why work so hard now because I'm going to have eternal life in heaven? Um, that may be, or even karma. You know, you're going to be reincarnated in another life, and you know, I have an open mind about things. Believe it or not, you know, it might not sound like. I mean, I'm not so hot on these ideas about an afterlife, you know. But I have an open mind. I mean, there was a book, I can't think of the name of it, but it was about the planet, other people from outer space who would come down to this Earth and take away people into the spaceship, and they wanted to experiment on them, and they were curious. So, and I can't remember the name of it right now, but it was very intriguing, and and they had so many testimonials from people who said that they had this experience about being abducted. So I was telling my supervisor, who was my supervisor at the training institute, and I talked to him because I was very excited about it. And he said to me, he says, "Oh, that's all psychosis." Well, it may be, or it may not be, and that hurt me. I wish I had said something to him at the time. You know, it was hurtful and it made me annoyed. I would now, but not. I didn't then. I mean, he was really helping me, and you know, I didn't want to bite the hand that fed me. Now I would say something, but he was a good guy, you know. But that just was his reaction, you know. And to me, it was. It also was not a learned reaction, because who knows what's out there, you know. And I was all excited about it, and him dismiss it as a psychosis was, you know, it was a damper on me. But it didn't affect my relationship with him, because I had a very positive relationship with him. I don't let one thing turn the screw in the coffin, no pun intended. But so he was a great guy, but I didn't like that. So let's see. And what about you? Oh, religion, karma. Well, a lot of the religions have a kind of a suffering aspect to them. You know, you think a thought, and you're going to go to hell, or there's some suffering attached to karma, the ideas of karma, and you sow what you reap. You reap what you sow. You know, the hand is going to come back and strike you. There's something very nice about Buddhism, because they're trying to teach you about examining the motivations to your actions, so that your actions become more spiritual. And I like that idea, you know, examining the motivations of your actions. But the other ones I'm not so fond of, like the suffering and reincarnation. And about being in heaven, it's a nice thought too. You know, you're going to be reunited, and it's a very reassuring thought. And the only trouble with it is if people would put off living and also mourning a person because they think they're in heaven. And I wouldn't want to bet my life on it, about heaven, you know. I'm right here. But I have an open mind, who knows, you know. But I don't believe in it, because I think that it does distract from the daily living that we can do. It's in the moment here. And also, if you're thinking about being reunited, sometimes people don't mourn and give a chance, really a full mourning. It's like people who drink a lot. Their drinking also puts off mourning people that have died in their life, and all of a sudden we become sober, which is a good thing. Then they start to mourn the people that they have lost when they were drinking, and didn't have the time or the energy to pay attention to it. And children deserve to mourn too, you know, like when you say to a child, "Oh, Mommy, where is everybody going?" And they were at a funeral, a service. Oh, Uncle Joe passed. Well, did he pass a test? What do you mean, Mommy? He passed. Oh, passed? What? Did he pass a red light? What happened to him? I heard he died. He passed a red light and got hit by a car? Silly. We keep these things from children. They don't need to be that protected, and they need to have the opportunity to mourn. Oh, well, we didn't want to take our child to the funeral. It would upset them. Upset them? Check yourself out. Sure, they're entitled to be upset. you know, if they're at an age where they're too young, we traumatize them. I don't believe that would happen. So death is an important thing to live with and not to be afraid of, and accepting it will make our feet be much more grounded and have less anxiety. So this is Dr. Mark Sehl, Summertime. Summertime and the living's easy. Fish are jumping and the cotton is high. I used to sing that song to my son every night. Yeah, it was comforting to him to be sung to. That's one way I would soothe him out of the angst of life at night. One of my favorite songs. So with that summertime song, I'm going to sign off for the YouTube channel Therapy for the Heart on death, anxiety, and fear. Mostly fear we have to encounter so many ways, and if we encounter it, we become strong and live with it. Now, so what's talk? It's 46 talk. So please contact me if you can. Like the channel, like this talk if you can. You can press a button there. Subscribe to it if you want to. And if you have a Gmail account, you can make comments, and I do respond to them. A few people wrote me recently that they liked the videos very much, the recent videos. So that's that tells me something about the fact that what I'm doing, what I'm saying here, has some impact. Okay, so email me also if you want, marksehl@gmail.com, and text me at 917-991-9113. It doesn't bother me. Okay, bye-bye for now.